Alrighty, so we're going to be graphing tangent. So we've graphed sine and cosine. Now we're graphing tangent. Tangent is very different than sine and cosine. Just by looking at this graph, we can tell that it is very different than sine and cosine. Because sine and cosine had distinct high points, distinct low points, and they just kind of oscillated forever. Whereas this has breaks in it, so it's going to go down and up, and then it has a vertical asymptote. These are vertical asymptotes. And this asymptote, I hope that's how you spell it. Vertical asymptotes. And so these right there is undefined. There are no values on that line. Same with here, same with there. So we still have the cycles, like this is one cycle, another cycle, another cycle. It's going to keep doing that forever. But where sine and cosine, you had a very distinct high point and a very distinct low point. Okay. So we still, properties of tangent, not just tangent functions, not function. Okay. So properties of tangent functions, we have this very basic equation here. So y equals a tangent of b theta plus c. That's similar to the y equals a sine of b theta plus c and y equals a cosine of b theta plus c. So remember, a in sine and cosine was our amplitude. But if we're looking at this graph right here, we don't really have an amplitude. Like this never hits a high point and never hits a low point. So we can't take half of the high and the low because the high is infinity, the low is negative infinity. You can't take half of infinity minus negative infinity. That just doesn't, mathematically does not make sense. So A is our fake amplitude. We're just going to call it our fake amplitude. Okay. B is the number of cycles between 0 and pi. Okay. Remember, on sine and cosine, it was between 0 and 2 pi. This time it's between 0 and pi. You really need to cement that into your head. Sine and cosine, 2 pi. Tangent, just pi. Okay. And then C is your vertical shift, just like it was on the other ones. It's your vertical shift. And then the period on this one is just pi divided by b. Whereas on, I'll just write it over here. So on sine and cosine, the period was 2 pi divided by b. So you have to, on tangent, it's pi divided by b. Sine and cosine, it's 2 pi divided by b. Write this down. This is super, super important. Period on tangent is pi over b. Sine and cosine, 2 pi over b. I've said that like 4 times now, which means it's so important. Okay, and then you're going to count by 1/4 of the period, whatever that period may be. That will make more sense in a second when we actually graph this. Okay, so make sure you have all of that written down. And let's look at this example. So we have to sketch one period of y equals 3 tangent of 2 theta minus 1. So let's just label our A, B, and C. So this is A, 3 is A, 2 is B, -1 is C. So I'm just going to write this down. So A equals 3. So my fake amplitude is 3. B equals 2. And that means that there are 2 cycles between 0 and pi. Okay. And then C is -1, which means it moves down 1. That's our vertical shift. It moves down 1. Are you freaking kidding me?